After the riverboat swindlers had stolen a young passenger's life savings, the desperate man felt he had no choice. He would jump to his death and become crawfish bait. Luckily, James Bowie, the famous Texas hero, also happened to be on board. Bowie certainly wasn't going to let this pathetic fool drown himself over a few $1,000s. The riverboat sharks would get a run for their money this time.
He brought this young fella back to the tables. When the crooked gamblers inquired this gentleman's name, he said Jim Bowie. And that was enough to silence any objections anybody had. The name was famous up and down the river. He proceeded to win all his money back and then another $20,000.
Old Jim Bowie may have been as mean as a rattlesnake, but to that gullible sap, he was a hero.
But if there ever was a champion bluffer that couldn't be beat, it was George Devol. Devol had not only perfected his game, he had finessed the role of a gentleman gambler. With his debonair clothing and flashy jewelry, he acted the part of a high roller. He enticed players into games with excessive and foolhardy stakes. In order to pull off the perfect con, Devol needed a certain partner in crime, and it arrived in the form of Canada Bill Jones, one of the most cunning men on the Mississippi River.
George Devol in his book said that Canada Bill looked like, quote, an idiot, unquote. And he meant that as a compliment.
Devol and Canada Bill became the dream team for the three-card Monte swindle. Devol would deal the cards, and Bill would play the role of a sucker who was sure to lose. As soon as Devol had attracted a group of interested spectators, Canada Bill, with his shabby clothing and dopey smile, would saunter up, offer to play, and proceed to win the pot. The audience was hooked.
George Devol and Canada Bill were probably the perfect partnership. George Devol was a fancy dresser, he always looked pretty sharp, and Canada Bill was he looked like sucker bait. He just had a kind of a silly-looking grin about him that made people think he was an easy mark. And that was their mistake.
Canada Bill's success always persuaded one greedy player to lay down his money. After the player placed his bets, Devol moved in for the kill and would swap out the ace card for another. The loser soon found out who the real fool was.
It's impossible to win at three-card Monte. It's all sleight of hand. Sometimes, to your eye, the dealer's tossing the card on top, but what he's really doing is tossing it on the bottom.
As Canada Bill once said, the true suckers have no business with money.
And they would clean out their victims, and Canada Bill would walk off looking stupid as ever, but much richer.
During the 1850s and 60s, Devol and his team of gamblers raked in over $1 million dealing crooked games along the Mississippi and on the steam trains. But Devol and his colleagues had no qualms about resorting to other methods when their luck went sour, and Devol was born with a special weapon.
George Devol had a very thick head. He had a very thick skull, and he was famous for using the old headbutt. He won many a fight that way.
Ironically, Canada Bill and George Devol's partnership ended when Devol tried to swindle Bill.
Guess you never cheat a cheater.